My partner and I are here to prove to you why there is no need to change the status quo and why it is undesirable and impractical for the U.S. federal government to restrict children's television programming. First off, as my partner already stated, the FCC, or Federal Communications Commission, has already set out to increase the quantity of educational and informational broadcast television programming for children. In other words, television is already being regulated by the FCC. According to FCC.gov, this type of programming is defined as programming that furthers the positive development of children 16 years of age and under in any respect, including the child's intellectual, cognitive, or social-emotional needs. This means that the government is already focusing on making sure there are adequate amounts of informational programs on for children. Other than making these programs available for a child, there is no other way for the government to force children to watch these programs. The government assigns movie ratings to regulate viewership. However, a parent or guardian at a minimum of 25 years old is permitted to make the decision to bring a minor into an R-rated movie, thereby giving the parent the decision-making ability to allow the child to see an R-rated movie. This brings me to mine and my partner's main argument that it is in the parent's discretion to regulate what their children watch, not the government's. If our government were to regulate television in the way our opponents are suggesting, it would cost the government an astronomical amount of money. Could you imagine government regulating every show on every network? This would only raise our taxes more. Right now, there are things on television such as V-chips, which won't allow televisions to show certain shows with ratings that the parent has decided are off limits, and parental locks, which allow parents to lock out certain channels or shows. These are ways for the parent to set a lock on a certain channel or show that they deem inappropriate for their child. There has never been a time in our nation's history when parents have had more tools and methods at their disposal to help them decide what is acceptable in their homes and in the lives of their children, says Adam Thierer in his new book, Parental Controls and Online Protection. If the government were to step in and make a baseline standard for the entire nation, how would they differentiate between households of different values and morals? It is the parent's job to raise a child the way they want, not the government's. Our opponents pointed out that TV shows have a negative influence on children. However, this is only true if the child is watching something that is inappropriate or above their age maturity. This is the parent's job to put a parental lock on that channel or show. If the parent chooses not to do so, then it's their business. If it is encouraged to rely on the government to do the parent's job, when will the parents ever learn the parental responsibilities? As generations go by, this problem will only get worse. In an article on cityjournal.gov, it states that 10 different court cases have evaluated the literature of violent programming, and it has been concluded that there is no link between violent programming and violent behavior proven yet. Our opponents also bring up that commercials come on when children are watching television could have a negative effect. In an article on slate.com, it states that kids under the age of 8 don't even understand the idea that commercial ads may have a persuasive intent, and anyone over that age are old enough to realize right from wrong. As my opponent Gotti said, if you are talking to a kid sarcastically, they may not even understand what you're talking about. This is exactly what the statistic shows. Kids don't understand at a young age. There are channels made available for educational purposes that do not show commercial advertising products. Once again, parents have the responsibility and the right to govern television choices for their children. One of those choices is public broadcasting without commercials. Overall, it is unnecessary for the U.S. federal government to regulate children's television programming. Where do we draw the line of the obligation of a parent or empowering the government to do the parent's job? As I stated before, the FCC has already regulated the amount of educational programming put on networks. The topic of government regulation is already being taken care of. From this point, it is the parent's responsibility to regulate what and when their children can watch TV. They are given the tools such as V-chips and parental locks, and whether they choose to use them or not is up to each individual home. If the government started to get involved in something as personal as TV watching, the people would only rebel. To raise the taxes for something that is already being taken care of is unnecessary. If the parents start to rely on the government to do their job, then the parents will lack at parenting and other subjects because they will have used the government have the government doing their job. As quoted by cityjournal.gov, it's not the government's job to serve as a national den mother.